If you're hurt, injured, don't waste time. Gary Johnson cries for every dime.
Welcome to Simply the Law, a program created by attorney Gary C. Johnson. Simply the Law provides free legal advice and encourages happiness and quality of life. Now, here's Simply the Law with Gary C. Johnson.
Hello, everyone. Welcome into Simply the Law. I'm Keith Casebolt, my dear friend, Gary C. Johnson.
What a wonderful week we just had. I've had words that not a single one of you criticized, condemned, and complained last week. Now, I'm not going to tell you who told me that because they might have fibbed a little bit of it. How you guys doing? Thank you so much for letting us hang out with you, visit with you. Keith and I, we love it when we're out in the towns and Food City and all these different places, Walmart, and someone comes up to us and said, "We've seen you guys on Simply the Law." Thank you for watching. Thank you for being with us. We truly and sincerely appreciate it. And hopefully we'll give you a little bit of something that may be of some benefit to you. Such as, and I got to say this again, and I don't know how many times I've done it on this program, but I've got to repeat something because someone did it the other day and I watched them. It's called unsolicited advice. It is nothing more than criticism camouflaged. Don't do it. If somebody asks you for your advice, give it to them. Otherwise, don't do it.
Now, wait a minute. Are we supposed to give it to them if they ask all the time? Because sometimes it may not be what they want to hear. I find sometimes people say, "Well, here's what I think, but what do you think?" Now, it almost seems like a setup.
Just remember, never criticize, condemn, or complain. And if a person has made a decision, all they want you to do is say, "That's a good decision." They don't want you criticizing that decision. It just helps you get along. It'll make you be a little bit happier because the folks around you, if they're happy, you're happy. Happiness is contagious, right?
Gary?
Every one of you watching this program, you're happy right this minute.
Just
right?
so our friends know what Gary's talking about on this unsolicited advice, I was at lunch the other day with some people, and an individual ordered grilled chicken, and the other individual at the table said, "Why did you get the chicken? The fish is what you should have ordered here." And I thought, this is what Gary is talking about. Unsolicited advice, even on a small scale, from ordering lunch.
It's nothing more than camouflaged criticism. And since all my friends that watch this show, you never criticize, condemn, and complain, right? So I'm just giving you a little pointer on that unsolicited advice. By the way, how many of you have done it recently? Think back. Bet you just about every one of you has done it. We do it instinctively. We can't help it.
Because we
want to show them how smart we are.
We're so smart. We can figure out everybody else's problems, but we can't take care of our own.
Isn't it amazing how that if you could live the lives of the people around you, how much better off they would be? But yet we can never see the things that we need to see about ourselves to improve ourselves and the mistakes we're making. But boy, can we see them in other people, right? Huh?
You know, I got to tell you, my friend, the other day, you started out the program about saying thank you for people who come up and talk to you and me. A young man, while I was going into the grocery store, came over and he shook my hand and he said, "Please tell Gary I watch every Tuesday night." And I asked him how old he was, and he said, "I'm 28. He said, "But I'm learning a lot from the program." And as that young man walked away, I thought, he's 28 years old. He's listening to some of the advice you're giving, some of the lessons. He's paying attention, and he likes it. This young man is probably going to end up doing pretty well in life.
I'd say that man's got, not just because he watches this show, but if he's trying to learn and expand his horizons, he'll do well. My friends, all of you are doing that, right? You wouldn't be watching the show otherwise, huh? You understand and I repeat this, and I may repeat it every program, is that you're exactly the way the good Lord meant you to be. You look exactly the way the good Lord meant you to look. You have the personality the good Lord meant you to have. You're who the good Lord put on this earth, gave the gift of life, and you are special. You are unique in all eternity, infinity. There will never be another living object like you.
Gary, before you get into tonight's program, the other day you and I were talking. You had to be on business. You were teaching and you were on the West Coast. I was actually in Florida, and the two of us came back from the trip, and you said, Keith, how was the people you encountered? And I said, Gary, I noticed the best people in the world. There were grandfathers and grandmothers that were trying to make memories with their grandchildren. There were people at the beach that had tents up and their whole family was there and they were cooking out. And you said, on the West Coast, I met the most wonderful people in the world. And what I realized is we all have the same goals. We want to make memories. We want our families to be safe. Mm-hmm. We want to have a good life. People are generally good people.
And the report we made on the radio program, and I'm going to make it on the TV program, is America's okay. There's not all this bitterness and meanness and things that you see on TV. It's not there. We couldn't find it. I went to the West Coast. He went to Florida. All we found was good, decent people, just like you folks, wanting to feed their family, take care of their family, educate their children, and live. Go to church. That is America. And it's still that way. Keith and I did our research, didn't we, Keith?
Well, and you said it. You said, Keith, the social media spends 95% of the time talking about the 5% of the bad. There is some bad out there, but they spend the whole time talking about it. You and I went out, and we found 95% of the good and reported on it to each other.
And I'm telling you, it's okay. This country is in good shape. It's in good shape as far as the people. And that's all that matters. So, be happy. I want to talk to you a little bit about something to do with the law today. I've got some stuff on the computer I want to share with you. And just for your information, to get my information on what I'm going to be sharing with you, I went to the Mayo Clinic. But there's our number in case any of you want to call us. But I think before we get into this, we probably should take a break.
Okay, we've got started, so you've got plenty of time. If he went to the Mayo Clinic, that's the world-famous Mayo Clinic, you know it's going to be an important topic. Stay with us. You may even want to get a pen and paper so that you can write down some of the information. Simply the Law with Gary C. Johnson is coming back after you see this break.
The other day, one of my friends called me and said, Gary, I was in a bad wreck and you didn't call me. And I had to explain. No lawyer, even me, can call a person that's been in a wreck and ask them for their case. It is illegal. I want to represent you, but I'm not the one that can make that first call. It must be you. It's easy. Call pound hurt. I'm here. I want to represent you.
Welcome back into Simply the Law. You know, a couple of years ago you said everything that we do from now on, whether it's the radio show or the television show, is about bringing more happiness to your life. Unfortunately, sometimes you've got to give them information about these, what you call potholes in life, that you've got to dodge so you can be happier.
I want to talk to you tonight about something that I think is a major misconception among the general public that has been beat into people's brains over the years. So I said, well, where am I going to go to get some authority for what I'm going to be talking about? Since I know, I'm going to be talking to you, by the way, about whiplash. So I went to the Mayo Clinic, got an article from them about whiplash, and made it into a show. I think you'll be surprised at what you see when we get to it. Let's go to the computer, folks. There's our number in case any of you want to call us. Webpage is GaryCJohnson.com. In general, make sure you have underinsurance that protects you and your family, every program. Now, Mayo Clinic. what did I find when I went to the Mayo Clinic about the injury that most people refer to as whiplash? It is amazing what's out there. This is directly from the article in Mayo Clinic. This isn't Gary Johnson talking. This is Mayo Clinic talking. Whiplash is a neck injury due to forceful, rapid back and forth movement of the neck, like the cracking of a whip. Whiplash most often occurs during a rear-end auto accident, but the injury can also result from a sports accident, physical abuse, or other trauma. Now, what else do they say about this? The motion can injure bones in the neck, in the spine, disc between the bones, ligaments, muscles, nerves, and other tissues of the neck. Bet you folks didn't know that, did you?
Gary, when you bring up this topic, and we talk about the propaganda sometimes against attorneys, isn't this the one they go after the most? I mean, when you see the old TV shows and somebody was trying to get something for nothing, they would put on the neck collar and supposedly they had whiplash. They went after this and kind of demoralized it as not a very serious injury.
Every time that they send one of my clients to a defense doctor and they have a neck injury, that defense doctor says, this will get to always, every time, this will get better or should have gotten better in 6 weeks. If it's really bad, 3 months is the maximum that they could have this injury. And I'm a board certified physician and I'm telling you folks this, that they're better, most definitely. The question is, what does Mayo Clinic say about that? Let's go back to the computer.
Now here comes the good news.
Common signs and symptoms of whiplash include neck pain, stiffness, and headaches. Most people get better within a few weeks by following a treatment plan that includes pain medication and exercise. However, some people have chronic neck pain and other long-lasting complications, and you will never get a defense doctor to agree that some people have chronic neck pain, chronic means permanent, and other long-lasting complications. They won't agree to that.
Well, let me, this is one subject I finally know something about because I actually got a whiplash in a car accident when I was 16. I am now 55, 39 years later. I've lost mobility in my neck. I can't turn my head. I have neck pain. I have to sleep with 3 pillows, normally on a couch. I know all about this. It does not heal itself and not cause you any problems in the future. I mean, simple things like turning around to back your car out of the driveway. I can't turn my head. You can't do it.
Well, let's take a quick break, and I got some more stuff from the Mayo Clinic that I want to share with you folks.
What I like about this is, you don't have to take my word for it, or maybe your neighbors or your friends that's had this done. The Mayo Clinic backs it up with the evidence. We'll be right back with Gary C. Johnson, Simply the Law, after this break.
I'm Gary C. Johnson. I saw a commercial from a large law firm where they said, we took 3 million calls last year. Woo-wee. You may want to give us a call at Pound Hurt, where instead of being one of 3 million, you will be treated as one of a kind. Pound Hurt. We're ready to represent you. Give us a call on your cell phone, Pound Hurt.
Welcome back into Simply Law. Gary, let's go back to what you read when it said most people will heal from this. Does this turn out to be a frustrating point of contention for someone like, I'm sitting here telling you the problems I've had 39 years later, that, the client wants to jump up and down and go, okay, well, I'm not most. I wasn't the one that healed on it.
When you think about it, when people are in wrecks, they're all ages. Young, children, up, keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. Well, most of those people are probably in car wrecks are under 40. The rest will be older than that. You're going to see what the Mayo Clinic says about that in a minute. As you age, what happens? Because it's a different thing altogether. Most, that's true. But there's a category of people that are at high risk, if they're hit in the rear end and have a whiplash, of having problems from that whiplash the rest of their life, per the Mayo Clinic. Now let's go back to the computer. What else do they say? Whiplash may be called a neck sprain or strain, but those terms also include other types of injuries. Symptoms. Signs and symptoms of whiplash usually, but not always, which means it can even go longer, develop within 24 hours of the injury. Now, I want to talk to you about that a little bit. Defense doctors, defense lawyers will say they didn't complain at the wreck. They didn't complain at the scene. They didn't go to the hospital. They could not have been injured. They didn't get hurt till they went home and got some advice from somebody that they needed to be hurt. Therefore, there's absolutely nothing wrong with them. Look, but when you look at what the Mayo Clinic says, most people get their symptoms within 24 hours. There is actually a number of people that may not get the symptoms for weeks because of the way they got the injury. So I'm trying to dispel all of these things that's been with an authority, the Mayo Clinic, that's been propaganda to people about, oh, they got a whiplash and they got better and they'll always get better within a few weeks. It's not true. Now let's go back to computer.
I was going to before you go. Let me add this, Gary. Our friends will know this. If you've ever done any work outside in the yard, or if you've tried to exercise, or you've lifted a weight, the next morning you may wake up and you feel fine, and you're like, oh, it didn't bother me at all. And then 24 hours later, your arms are sore, your muscles are sore, your back, your neck from the activity that you did. There is a delayed reaction that you feel from that. We've all done that.
Well, if any of you have ever started working out with weights,
yeah,
you feel great. Boy, I'm strong. Next morning you say, oh my God, I'm about to die, because of the way you stretch those muscles and things. But no, it is usually delayed, the symptoms.
So it's perfect.
Unless it's severe. Now, if it's a severe one, you probably get it right then.
But it's perfectly understandable for somebody to get out of the car and say, I think I'm okay. And then a day later, they can't get out of the bed.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know what the clients I've had that have had that problem. Okay, back to the computer. Some symptoms: neck pain and stiffness, worsening of neck pain with movement, loss of range of motion in the neck. Recognize any of those, Keith?
I'm starting to.
Headaches, most often starting at the base of the skull. It's called a serogenic headache, caused from the strain and pulling of the tendons and ligaments in your neck. Tenderness or pain in the shoulder, upper back, or arms. Tingling or numbness in the arms. Got that, Keith?
I've got every bit of it.
Fatigue. Dizziness. Some people also have blurred vision, ringing in the ears, tinnitus, and sleep disturbances. Irritability,
Yeah.
difficulty concentrating, memory problems, depression, all from what people would normally call a simple whiplash.
Now, you just went through all those, and honest and to God, I can relate to every symptom that you're talking about. Mm-hmm. I cannot sleep on my back. I cannot sleep on my stomach because I can't turn my head. So I have no choice but to sleep on my side. You can't sleep very long because then you have pain. When I did go to the Mayo Clinic, by the way, I was having pain in the base of my skull, where you're talking about, but it's coming from the neck. It's not behind my ear, and they're explaining to me this. And this was all from a wreck 40 years ago. And here I am now at 55, and I've got all those symptoms.
Now, if you had been in a lawsuit, they would have had a defense doctor to say you were better in 6 weeks.
Well, I was in high school. I actually went back to playing basketball. I was a young man, but I didn't realize how this would take a toll on my body as I got older.
I guess the point I'm making, my friends, is anytime you do a disruption of these things in your neck, it is an injury that probably, even though it may heal, you will pay a price as you get older. Even those that appear to get better within 6 to 8 weeks will probably pay a price as they get older. It will probably accelerate their degenerative disc disease, which we all get. Everybody gets degenerative disc disease as we get older. The question is it accelerated and made worse from having had a disruption of the tendons, the ligaments, the bones, the disc in our neck by being in a wreck? In other words, having a whiplash. Let's go. We got one more break. I'll wait and take it. Let's go back to the computer. I'll talk to you. Now, what are the complications? According to the Mayo Clinic now, I got every bit of this from the Mayo Clinic. Most people who have whiplash feel better, again, within a few weeks. However, some people continue to have pain for several months or years after the injury occurred, such as you, Keith. Okay? Now, and the Mayo Clinic says it is difficult to predict how each person with whiplash may recover. In general, you may be more likely to have chronic pain if your first symptoms were intense, started rapidly, and included this: severe neck pain. In other words, if you've been in a wreck and you got severe neck pain almost immediately, the odds are you're going to fall in that category, according to the Mayo Clinic, that doesn't get better. Headaches and pain that spreads out into the arms. If you've been in a wreck and those come on immediately or within just a few minutes or whatever, then you more likely than not will fall into the category of most people don't get better. According to this article, again, from the Mayo Clinic. Now, what else do we have from the Mayo Clinic? And this is something that I think should be interesting to you folks. There are certain risk factors have been linked to a worse outcome. Now, what are those risk factors? Having had a whiplash before. In other words, Keith, if you're in another wreck and get a whiplash, the odds are you will have much more problems than you would have had otherwise.
Absolutely.
Okay? Being older. And that's what I was talking to you folks about just a minute ago, was our disc and the things in our neck and back wear out as we get older. And if you're over 40, definitely over 50, and you have a whiplash, you're at high risk for falling into that category that will have chronic pain from that for the rest of your life. Again, from my article that I got off of the internet, if you want to go to the internet, go to Mayo Clinic, see what they have to say about whiplash. This isn't Gary Johnson talking. I've brought me some authority this time for what I'm saying. Now let's go back to the computer. I got another thing there's another risk factor. In other words, if you had existing low back pain or neck pain, it's called a pre-existing condition. You are more likely, without any question, you are more likely to have a condition in your neck or back even that will be there for the rest of your life, per the Mayo Clinic, because it is a risk factor that you're going to fall into that category of most people don't heal from this injury. But yet, I've had people 70 years old that had a whiplash that had defense doctors say they got better. There's no question about it. Within 3 months, they definitely got better. Probably within 6 weeks, they got better.
You know, and Gary, we just got a couple of minutes left. So let me clarify to the people as I just told my story. My story was 40 years ago. My car was worth $1,800. There wasn't even enough insurance to cover the car from the wreck, from the guy that hit me. And then people will say, well, wait a minute, Keith, you're functioning today. You're working. I am. That doesn't mean you're not in pain.
That's right.
Other people might say, well, you even try to play golf. I do. It hurts, but that's a passion of mine. Just because you're going on in life doesn't mean you're not hurting and that you're not in pain and that you don't have those symptoms. You're just trying to have a life.
And I've always said that you have to commend people that will try to work in pain. Sometimes that pain is terrible. Yet the defense will say, well, they're working, therefore they have no loss of future income. I say to the jury, they shouldn't have to go to work. The person that caused this mess, that created this problem, should be responsible, and they should be able to go wherever they need to do and do whatever they need to do to try to lower and diminish their pain. And if working causes them to hurt, you have the power to say to them, you don't have to go hurt.
You know, it almost seems like the system is backwards, that you get punished for trying to continue to be who you are and to have your life even though you're in pain.
Well, as I've said before, it's war.
Yeah.
And anything that the defense or the defense doctors can do to use to try to diminish an injury, you know what, if it's me, there ain't no small injuries. If it was me, I mean,
It's a small heart attack when somebody else has it. It's a big one.
If you go up and slap somebody and put a mark on their face, you go to jail, but you run into them and destroy their quality of life and their living, and everybody says, it's no big deal, they just want some money.
Yeah.
You know, it's insane when you think about it. If you're hurt by somebody else's negligence, you should get every dime that's out there. That's my opinion.
And I agree with you. And this is the guy that knows, and that's the information from the Mayo Clinic. So if you've had this injury, now you know why you're having these symptoms. Thank you so much for taking this time to tune in. On behalf of Gary C. Johnson, I'm Keith Casebolt. As always, Gary and I look forward to seeing you each week right here at this same time.
Thank you for watching Simply the Law, a program created by Gary C. Johnson. Until next week, may you be safe, blessed, and happy.
If you're hurt, injured, don't waste time. Gary Johnson cries for every dime.